Good morning. Welcome to Saturday Morning Coffee. My name is Lance McKinnon. I'm here with my co-host, Tiffany Linderman. Good morning, Tiffany. How are you?
Good morning. Happy Saturday morning to you.
Happy Saturday morning to you. How's everything?
Good. I haven't tried to take a swig of a drink when we started, so it's always fun. Well, we have a special guest here. Yep, take a drink. We're going to have you talking. So today we have Eddie McGovern. Today is going to be a little bit different of a conversation than you're typically used to on our Saturday morning coffee. We're going to be talking about some serious stuff, and ultimately, at the end of the day, some of parents' worst fears when it comes to taking your children to school. And really talking to Eddie, he's been doing a lot to make a difference to help our children be safe when they do go to school. Well, I'm going to turn it over. Good morning. Hey, Eddie, how are you doing?
Good morning, Eddie. How are you
Doing
doing?
well. Good to see you guys.
Good to see you. Hey, first of all, I want to say thank you for all your years of serving in the blue. You've spent many years, we're not going to count, but thank you for serving and protecting us for as many years as you have, and taking the time out of your day today to talk about this serious conversation.
Yeah, always a pleasure, Lance.
Thank you. All right, so go ahead, Eddie. So what, you've been on the, just recently retired from law enforcement, but today's conversation is what we say is every parent's fear. We were going to talk about Eddie has actually been and personally involved while he was on duty, several school shooting incidents. And I'm not going to go and tell Eddie stories, but I want to Eddie to go ahead and jump in and talk about the impact and what you're doing now to make a difference in the school systems.
Great. So I was in law enforcement for 22 years. I just recently retired in November. I was a major when I retired of investigative services. During my career, yes, I've responded to numerous shootings, some in and around schools. The biggest impact ones for me were in 2017, I responded to the Fort Lauderdale Airport Shooting. And then almost a year later, I responded to Marjory Stoneman Douglas when it was attacked by Nicholas Cruz on February 14th. And those both had lasting impacts from me, not just personally as a father, but from a law enforcement perspective, because we tend, we self-critique when we get done, and looking at our response capabilities compared to what's available to us in technology, there was this huge divide. And I actually started my company before Marjory Stoneman Douglas, after Fort Lauderdale Airport. But when Marjory Stoneman Douglas hit, I concentrated on that being the first issue we need to solve, and how our approach is different. There's a lot of companies out with panic alarms and panic apps for schools, but we're centered towards law enforcement and first response, because that's where we feel we need to improve. We can't just depend on schools to set off a panic alarm. If we still respond with obsolete technology and antiquated procedures, we're still going to fail, no matter how much technology is coming out of the schools as far as notifying us. So we geared our safety platform towards law enforcement and fire to effectively address a targeted school violence attack, and also provide schools with the ability to provide us information quickly so that we can respond quickly and save lives.
Now, Eddie, do you think it's up to the teachers to be providing the students these type of procedures, or what you're doing is trying to educate them to grow it and to have a better system?
So ours is very multifaceted. We want to partner with schools 100% because they do need tools and they do need training. It's unfortunate. I would love that we didn't have to do it, but it's a reality that these events occur, and history has told us these events are occurring and will continue to occur. So unfortunately, we need to provide that training. How I look at it is, this is professionally for me, from law enforcement, this is a law enforcement problem to solve. This isn't the burden of teachers and students to solve. We need to partner with them. We need to work with them and come up with great solutions. But this is our issue. The issue is in how we address this. Kids are here to learn. Teachers are here to teach our kids. They're not here to try and solve a problem of, a crazy person with a gun shooting up your school. That's our job. And especially when now schools, because they're trying to take this initiative, you're pulling a lot of funds out of schools for safety. And for us, we look at it like this also is on the first response side. We need, schools are already strapped. We all know that. School funding is already strapped, and now you add millions of dollars that now you have to spend for alarms and safety applications and training. That's a lot of cost getting eaten up in our education funds, where we can, we think it would be more efficient for this to be primarily, the burden of law enforcement. And that's coming from a law enforcement officer. This is our job. That's what our funds go to. It's not like we're taking away from something else. This is what our funds go to. And we have come up with an effective platform that's both affordable for law enforcement and for fire. And right now is extremely affordable for schools compared to what they have to pay for other things. And our goal at this point is to reach a point where, at least for public schools, where you have probably the most stressed budgets and you have the most schools and the most kids impacted, to provide the school portion of our technology free to them. Because that's, we're a very purpose-driven company, and our goal primarily is to save lives. And that's, everyone that comes into my company understands that that is our mission. We have a moral obligation to save lives. And, if we do our job well, yes, funding will come, revenue will come, but that has to be our primary mission. We have to be in this to save lives. And I think we have a fantastic set of products for law enforcement and fire to really achieve results when one of these unfortunate incidents occurs.
Yeah, and you hit the nail right on the head, Eddie. Me personally, as a parent, dropping a child off every day, knowing that the school system has this system in place, would make me feel a little bit more comfortable. Obviously it's a budget thing and so forth, but we are living in a day of age of now where, unfortunately, we have to have this real conversation. As tough as it may be, coming off of COVID, the anxiety levels, things changing at home, it's very scary as a parent. And and what you guys are doing and trying to help is absolutely amazing.
Can I just interject there? I hate, it's horrible that we even have to think about this. And I hate to say that. Well, no, I don't hate to say that. I just hate that we even have to think about this. But I'm thankful that you're doing things to help be proactive and really be prepared so that we can take care of our kids. I'm very curious, and you're probably going to touch on this, is, what do these systems do? What does it look like? I'm sure that there's probably some different components, but I'd love to hear more of what that actually looks like, if it's something you can talk about.
Yes. So we have what we call an active threat response system, which is essentially a platform that law enforcement and fire can use to manage a critical incident. And the biggest thing we provide to them is a visual perspective. And this might be something that many citizens don't know, because what you see on TV that police have capabilities of and what we actually do are vastly different things. And I can tell you from, for example, when we responded to the Fort Lauderdale Airport shooting, I was one of the first units there, and the entire incident was being managed with a dry erase marker and a whiteboard. That's our level of technology. And the only communication we have is two-way radios, which are limited in bandwidth. You can only speak one at a time. So the flurry of information you have to move around can't get moved around when you have to speak one at a time. And now you have 100, 200 officers on scene, all on the radio. It just bogs everything down. You compound that with all the 911 calls coming in, like in Marjory, Stoneman, Douglas, and having to sift through all those calls, looking for what information is most important. It really just bogs everything down, and that's what slows our response. And when you're talking about the average incident lasts 3 to 5 minutes, you are literally down to seconds, and everything you do in those 3 to 5 minutes decides the outcome of this event. So the quicker we can pass information, the quicker that we can see everything, because we have no visual perspective right now in law enforcement, to be able to see everything we need on a visual platform, and for everybody to be able to share it, and for multiple agencies to be on the same platform. So I can see another agency who's here to help. I can see those people too, and I can move them where I need them, and I can work as quickly as I can. And the same thing for the fire side. For the school side, we've created a comprehensive duress system for teachers, and if schools wish, students can also be on. Anywhere from high school and college students can be on. And the reason we've added that in is because, number one, they're the targets, and they want a stake in their outcome. And after speaking with many of the Parkland parents, and I actually had Parkland parents come and speak to my team to remind them of how important this is, we need as many pieces of information as we can, and a lot of times it's not enough for teachers. They've sat through the after action reports and the depositions for Marjory, Stoneman, Douglas, and they know that some teachers, when things happen, that they just aren't capable of, doing what they need to do. And if you add students in who are digital natives, first off, so running an app on their phone is the first thing they can go to, increases that information. And what we've done is we've pared that information down to a duress system where anyone can set off an alarm that there is an active threat of violence in the school. And every person who has the app in their school within basically what we call a geofence, which is like a perimeter, a GPS perimeter around the school, receives that notification. It automatically opens up our app on their phones, and they can see updates coming in of when police arrive, because we need to have them engaged in their own survival. And they all understand from our training, you just have to survive these first few minutes. And when you're sitting there and you don't know what's happening on the outside, it becomes very difficult, and it really takes away from, your will when you have no idea what's going on. So the first thing we do is we provide updates that'll tell them when police have arrived on scene, when fire rescue has arrived on scene. Law enforcement can sound a mass notification to them to tell them that the threat has been, captured, and, we're going to begin evacuation, and that empowers them. The second thing we have is the two pieces of critical information we want. We want to know where that suspect is, and we want to know where those injuries are. Because when we know those two things, it saves us a lot of time, and it saves lives. The faster we can get to that suspect, the faster we can neutralize that threat, and the faster we can get to injuries, the faster we can treat them. So there's literally just two buttons for them to push. If they can see the suspect, they can press report suspect, and it'll pin on the police's map. So the more people that are reporting, the more you're going to see these clusters of where the suspect is. So now when we're approaching, we know exactly what building it's in. We don't have to try and figure it out. We can see from those clusters, that's where the shooter is, and that's where we need to go. And that's how we can intercept that shooter faster. It also leaves a trail of breadcrumbs based on the report, what we call breadcrumbs, which are basically all the reports are on that screen, so it almost gives us a direction of travel too. And for the injuries, what we've done for the injuries is anybody can report themselves or another person injured. And fire rescue, as soon as they're responding, who normally have to stand by and wait until it's safe enough to go in, can now video conference with all those injury reports. And they can assess the injury through video and give them first aid instructions. And then based on what they see, they can, what we call triage that injury as very severe, moderate, or minor, and they're color coded for them. So that when it comes time to go in and evacuate, we're going to the most injured first. We know where they are, we know how severely they're injured, and we can get them out first. That dramatically increases the rates of survival for injuries in these situations. And the faster we can neutralize that threat, the more people survive also. So the best part about our system is all these 3 key components are being completed simultaneously. Normally they're completed sequentially, but now they're being completed simultaneously. While we're going after that threat in law enforcement, fire rescue is already dealing with injuries and already knowing exactly how they have to go in, where they have to go in, and what they need to keep those people alive. So that's where we have this tremendous advantage now.
And I like the fact that you said that you put it in students' hands. That process right there, because I think the students are going to see it prior to a teacher seeing it. You know, I know 100%. that we're always teaching our children to be aware of your surroundings and people acting uncharacteristic and so forth. So this is something we can get ahead of. Your program, your company can actually get ahead of a catastrophic incident based off of this application. Just because they notice something different in someone and somebody's reaction that a teacher may not recognize.
Correct. And they can even send photos to us. They can actually give descriptions to us. And the way we've done it is it's all push button, because we understand in those high stress situations, cognitive ability gets impaired. So we don't leave them with anything that they have to think through. We basically just give them options and they choose from them. And that makes even a description go by very quickly. And police can also video conference in with those students. But yes, and also if they had information, let's say that there was a student or an ex-student that was coming to the school to commit violence, they could set off that alarm, and the police would respond, maybe even respond before that student gets there, and prevent the situation. And that's why it was important, because the students are always the ones that have that information. And that's why we really pushed, even though I know we're going to get some pushback, because the big issue is going to worry about false alarms. But what we've done with the system, by number one, having a geofence, they actually have to be on campus to set an alarm off, which reduces accidental alarms. And for students, there's a redundant question that they're sure they want to start an event, and they have to use a biometric, which is either a thumbprint, or if their thumbprint doesn't work, they can use the code to get in, which does take a little longer. But with students and their digital natives, they can do that very quickly. But we teach that we know you set the alarm off. So, the philosophy that students will set off false alarms because they don't want to take an exam, which even happens now. We're not making something that doesn't already happen. Kids call in fire alarms, they pull a fire alarm, they call in a report. In fact, just a couple months ago, somebody called in that there was an active shooter at Marjory, Stoneman, Douglas. And those things already happen. And actually with our system, not only are they mitigated, but when we teach, listen, it was your thumbprint, we know it's you and you'll be prosecuted. We think that number is actually going to be very little. Especially when you're talking about high school and college students who understand the ramifications. And with teachers, obviously they have a huge advantage, because not only are they just reporting that there's something happening, but all the teachers and students can give us every piece of information we need. We don't even need to sift through these calls or try and figure out what's happening. The 2 pieces of information we need, where that suspect is and where those injuries are given to us at a push of a button. And it's all mapped out for law enforcement.
And you had talked about pushback. I mean, I honestly, for myself as a parent, I'm thinking, there's no way I would be pushing back at all. I'd be pushing for this in school, because you're already doing bulletproof whiteboards now, bulletproof backpacks. That stuff's already in play. But how much is a backpack going to protect my child in the school system, and also you want to be able to make sure every officer comes out safe, as every child or every student or every teacher, you want everybody to come out safe, so some of these things that they have in place, they're great, but they're minimized. This is taking it to the next level.
Right. We go from reactive to proactive. Reactive is you're assuming bullets are going to be hitting you, so you have a bulletproof backpack. We want to get to the point where we stop that threat before those bullets get to you. We're being proactive. We have to move faster than that suspect. And that's the key for us is we can't be behind. We need to be ahead of that suspect, vectoring in and intercepting that suspect to prevent the continued, threat against the teachers and students. And you're right, Lance. And like I always say, students are the ones with the targets on. When an active shooter goes into that school, that's who he's looking to go after. And those students, and we've seen in Marjory Stoneman Douglas, have become a tremendous voice in their own safety. They really have. And I think, we need to try and step away from this. If somebody makes a false report, how do we weigh that against a real situation where they give us the correct information? That's a small inconvenience compared to the amount of safety and the amount of response we can bring to an active shooter in a school.
Yeah, because if your company is able to prevent a school shooting, and we can go back and countless, how many that we've had over the last years. I mean, it doesn't only just affect the students and the parents, relatives at that time, but it could change the course of the action of their life, and that's huge. That's something that will always stay with you. And I know the incidences that you personally have been on, I know that's changed the course of your life. Yes. And how you view things. And I know as a parent watching it on television, how it changes my view, and it hasn't even affected me personally. But knowing that it would alter my child's life forever, because that could be their friend, their best friend, or somebody they knew or somebody they didn't know. So, I mean, this is absolutely a game changer in the industry to protect our students in the school system.
And listen, anybody that knows, when you're standing on one of these scenes, and you see the aftermath, and over the past few years, I've also become close with some of the parents who lost children or lost spouse at Marjory Stoneman Douglas. When you hear that anguish, and that's when everything kind of stops. And that's why we became so purpose driven, where we had this primary mission of our moral obligation to save lives, because we do. If we have the ability to create something to save lives, we have the responsibility to create it. And like I said, if it works, yeah, there is revenue, but that's not what we're in for. And I've put that up because I've been, we haven't had any outside financing. I've financed this out of my own funds because I've stood on that scene and I've talked to these parents, and it has to be done. We cannot continue to watch this same incident play out over and over again.
I cannot thank you enough for doing this, because I was telling Lance the other day, I remember when I had my daughter 7 years ago, I'd seen enough of school shootings on TV, and I was like, I don't want my daughter going to school. I was very scared. I ended up having to get past that because life has to go on anyways. But it's reassuring to know that, we're doing more to be proactive. You're doing more to be proactive for the sake of these kids and these families. I think the part that for me that is so important, and I'd love to hear, is how do more people how do we get this in front of them so they know that this is an option for their school systems to be able to utilize, and have their students and their teachers, et cetera, to be able to use this type of technology that you've implemented?
So we've begun our pilot phase here in Florida, and we hope to expand as quickly as we can. We have the ability to expand, to infinity. I have a really, really fantastic development team, and a lot of experience in public safety solutions. So it's really helped us down to the the nitty-gritty details. But our primary, like I said, the center of our hub, and spoke model with all these different spokes for safety, the hub is police and fire, first responders. So those are the clients we need to get to, and we even come in. We've done a lot of things to facilitate the whole process. We've identified grants and funding that they can use to help offset costs for our system. And therefore, with that, we're able to either have an extremely reduced cost for schools, or, like I said, in a large school district, have no cost for schools, and strictly keep this in the law enforcement and first response side. So those are our clients. Now, we do go out to schools because a lot of times schools can persuade law enforcement and can persuade fire if they're interested in it. So we will go out and talk to both sides. We'll talk to law enforcement and fire. We'll talk to municipal cities. We'll talk to schools to hear about us. And anyone can go on our website, which is www.CERA.com, and look at our products and look at our platform and see what we can offer. We've also, in the interest of getting safety out there as fast as possible, have left our application interface open so that even if, let's say, an entire school system has a different panic app that they've already purchased, they already have a contract for, they can connect, that app can connect to CERA, which allows police to only have to manage one system. They can respond to any panic app out there through CERA, so they're not having to monitor and respond on all these different separate apps that provide different information, that provide different types of capabilities. They can now just have one system and monitor everything. And then also with that open interface, it allows them to connect CERA to like a real-time command center or a larger system that they have now for technology and safety. So we've really kind of thought of everything to make the process easiest. And, even though it may, take away from us, let's say, getting our school side out, allowing other school apps to connect to CERA means safety. That's our goal. So, we want to be out there regardless of whether somebody has our product or not, for the school side. We just want, the kids to be safe. So we'll leave that open for them in the interest of their safety.
That's absolutely amazing, because again, that is a game changer. As a parent, as being on board, or a teacher, that would be such a relief knowing that this program is in place. And, because like when you go on a scene, you don't have time to second guess. You have to be precise at 100%. And this is eliminating 90% of your time. So yes, you can focus on what you need to focus on. So how do you put a cost on safety of a child or a parent or whatever it may be, an employee or a law enforcement officer? I don't think you could put a cost on that. I would not. And that's why it was really important that we wanted to have this conversation. It's a very serious conversation, unfortunately, but it's a real conversation, because this is happening today. Not just only, we're in Pennsylvania, you're in Florida. This is happening in Wyoming, it's happening in Utah, it's happening in Chicago, it's happening in New York, it's happening in Texas. This is happening everywhere. And this is why we really felt the importance of having you come on as the founder of CERA to talk to us about this, and so we can get this word out, get the name of your company out there to protect our students and let us parents and the students and the staff feel safe.
Yeah, and especially now is the moment in time where this is really, as far as safety goes, is critical. We've had all of these students who have been under tremendous stress with COVID. Many students, as we know, who had school as an outlet because their home life was not good, were now put back in the life that was not good. And just the overall strain of isolation. And now we're going to take all these kids and put them right back in school after a year of isolation. Every expert I talk to, including myself, but every expert I speak of outside, either in school safety or in law enforcement, says there is an expectation, especially since we've seen the number of mass shootings that have already happened this year, before we've even gone to this, that there is going to be an uptick of school-related violence once all these kids go back to school after this COVID pandemic.
Great. I would agree, because I've worked with some inner city kids over the past year, and I know the impact that it's put on them mentally. You know, seeing some A students go down to F students, and your complete change in personality, that anxiety level ridden, you know, loss of friends, you know, gaming, and, you know, just it changes you. I mean, we've all been impacted over the last year, but I think the students themselves who've been cooped up, and you hit it right on the head when you said that some of these schools, some of these students, the school was their outlet, you know, and now they've been jammed in a house or a home where, you know, there's abuse, there is neglect, and now they have that pent up, and we don't know what's going to happen. And hopefully we can get this CERA out there to everybody, and so we can protect our students and all faculty and everybody in blue that serves and protects.
Yeah, it would be a great thing, and we've worked, my company also, as part of our drive and our purpose, have been involved with a lot of nonprofits that help children, especially at-risk kids, and all of them are all on the same page with this. They understand the dangers that are coming up after COVID, and a lot of these at-risk kids who've not been in a good environment for the past year, and the mental strain that's been, and emotional strain that's been on them has been absolutely tremendous. And, you know, to go from that to, 2,000 kids back into school is going to be an enormous challenge. It's going to be an enormous challenge for us. Wow. When it comes to safety.
Wow, that's great. Tiffany, do you have anything?
No, my heart's just heavy right now listening to all of it. And honestly, I just can't thank you enough for, I can't imagine the things that you've seen, but I know your heart is really in this and you really care and want to make that difference. So I hope I never have to see any of it happen in my life. But at the end of the day, I'm happy that we have people in this world that are doing something to change the course of our futures. So thank you, seriously. And for your service here, seriously, as well. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, Eddie, thank you for taking time out of your Saturday to talk to us about this somber but yet solutionable subject that we can get out to the country. And we wish you the best of luck. Saturday Morning Coffee will do everything we possibly can to spread the word. And obviously we believe in the organization, and I feel that you're going to be extremely successful with this. And we want to protect our children and officers and everybody else, and everybody goes home at the end of the day. So
that's the goal. And I love having Saturday Morning Coffee and talking about it, because it's great to have this conversation, even though it is a tough one. And look, even if it's not us, as long as we're talking about it and coming up with solutions, perfect.
That's beautiful. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today, Eddie. And
thanks, Lance. Thanks, Tiffany.
Keep making a difference in people's lives. And I know that wonderful things are going to happen. And we're going to just continue to watch you grow.
Great. Thank you.